Joel has Rebellion, Sick Berries and a Goat, Sweat, FXBG. Was that part of the piece that brought you all together? Was the other ventures, or was it your more consulting end that brought you together? I'm just more curious about how you all really came together. Or were you just playing golf together one day and said, like, let's go into partnership?
Let's start a restaurant. Yeah. So for those of you who have not been in the restaurant industry, I will tell you that be very, very cautious. The margins are very slim in restaurants, and so management is critical to running a successful restaurant, which is where I am delighted to work with these gentlemen. They are much more analytical and appreciate the finer details, particularly when it comes to the finances, than I am. And so working with them has been a real pleasure. But Griffin Hospitality brings to bear a lot of the management experience in the restaurant. We have a gentleman we've hired who has 25 years in the restaurant industry, and so he's been a real blessing for us to be able to learn from and do those things. But to your question about how we came together, Kevin and I met when I was in GovCon, and DJS was working with Harkins. I think we worked on a couple of deals together, and we're trying to, we were frenemies, as we call in the GovCon space, where sometimes you're collaborating and sometimes you're competing. But it was a good experience, and I think the takeaway that I had from meeting Kevin was always that he was very honest, very candid, and someone that I felt like when I shook his hand, we definitely got it in writing, but when I shook his hand, I knew what I was buying, right? I knew what I was getting, and that was just a great experience for me. And so when we were starting to think about another concept and something that we wanted to do, it was just an easy no-brainer when Kevin just out of the blue called and said, hey, looking at this opportunity, what do you think? And so that was an easy yes for me, because I had that prior relationship, I had that prior experience in a very positive way. And then a little bit later with Carrick, Kevin, I hadn't even met Carrick, and Kevin said, hey, I got another guy I want you to meet. He's a Marine, so I said yes. And but I say that almost tongue-in-cheek, because what I mean by that is that I think veterans particularly have a get-it-done kind of mindset. It's no nonsense. It's what is the mission? What do I need to do to accomplish that mission? And then give me something else to do. And so I very much like, and it's enjoyment for me to work with other veterans, because I know where they come from. I know their mindset. So it was a very easy, natural transition for me to work with these guys. I don't know if you have answers, thoughts.
Yeah, involvement. Well, Carrick mentioned how Paula teaching cycle at Sweat with Robin introduced us to this couple, and then that led to just friendships and involvement in the local community and being open to conversations. And same thing, you're not anybody's like this, but particularly when you're talking about going into business, you pay a lot of attention to the people that you're thinking about sort of getting into bed with, metaphorically, right? And you want to make sure that they have kind of the right stuff, whatever the right stuff is for you. And so I spent a lot of time observing Carrick, observing Joel, and just how they interacted with people, how they talked, what they got involved with, what they were doing in the rest of their lives, and all of those hurdles were cleared for me with respect to them. That's why I felt comfortable approaching Joel and approaching Carrick both to say, let's do this, let's make it happen. And the other thing that I know that we have in common, and I would ask all of you to think about this as well, is for me it's not so much about, in this case it's the port restaurant, it's hospitality, but it's more about there's an opportunity to add value to the local community. That's really what business is, no matter what it is. It can be a shoe store, it can be a clothing store, it can be an art studio. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's going to add value to the local environment, and you think you have what it takes to bring that value to bear and present it to the public, then that's what business is. All the rest of it you can figure out. There's a bunch of smart people out there that know numbers and profit and loss statements and all of that stuff. But if you have the idea and you're willing to run with it, that's the thing. A lot of people don't. I got this great idea, and there are. Good ideas just die every day because people don't actually take any action on them. These guys were willing to do that. We all got into it together, It's not been easy, and it's not going to be easy. It never is. Joel has a metaphor which I love, and I now use in my life all the time. It's like you're trying to swim across a very wide river, and you take off from the bank, and it doesn't look that far, and the current doesn't look that strong, but you get about halfway across, and you realize, wow, this is difficult. This is way more difficult than I thought. I kind of wish I could quit. Well, guess what? You're in the middle of the river. So you can quit and swim all the way back and have nothing, or you can keep going and swim across the river the other way and succeed. And that's what we're all about. We're going to swim to the other side and make it happen.